Hello, friends. I'm Kelly Simon, and I am finally meeting a challenge that my brother issued me several months ago, and that is to start a small podcast to talk about dyscalculia. Now, I think a podcast typically involves two people, and while I aspire toward that, initially I'm just going to make some short videos, 5 or 10 minutes, that you can listen to easily but to give some ideas about what dyscalculia is, how you might recognize it in students or in yourself. And eventually, we'll talk about some strategies to help address those challenges that some of our learners face. So, let me start by talking about, well, back up. Let me tell you initially, I'm not an expert. I am just an educator who has worked with students with dyscalculia and who recognizes that a lot of educators don't know what it is, don't know that it exists. A lot of families witness struggles in their learners and don't know what to attribute it to outside of laziness. And that gets to be a really vicious cycle. So I'd like to just kind of share some common traits that some students might demonstrate. Um, Let me also say this is not going to be a perfect little video or a perfect podcast. I'm trying not to let the perfect get in the way of good. So please just ignore all of my little foibles. There will be plenty. So as I continue to work with more and more students one-on-one, I am becoming aware that 5% of the population has characteristics or traits of dyscalculia. Teachers, that's one student in your classroom. In some larger classrooms, it may be two students. There, you know students with dyscalculia. You have taught them. You may have taught them well. You may not have taught them well, but you always can do better going forward. So let me start. Brian Butterworth is one of the premier researchers who talks about dyscalculia. And I'd like to just start with a brief overview that he shares about dyscalculia. And these are his words. What are typical symptoms of dyscalculia? Common symptoms include difficulty understanding numbers, struggling with basic arithmetic operations, and challenges in recognizing patterns or sequences. Individuals may also have trouble with spatial reasoning and estimating time or distance. So for today, I'd like to just tackle one little part of that, which is struggling with basic arithmetic operations. And I'll tell you some of what I've seen, and you may recognize it in students that you've worked with also. The first student that I worked with was at the time she was in the fourth grade, and I see it now in students I'm working with in the fourth and fifth grade. But when they are charged with a simple addition problem, 3 plus 2, they may need to use their fingers. They may need to do ah, they may need to do 3 on one hand and 2 on the other hand. They may be able to say 3 and count on 4, 5, but it's not a fact that they have been able to commit to rote memory. The same as with multiplication facts, oftentimes. So a lot of students that are in fourth and fifth grade that are having timed multiplication tests, these students, that's not helping them. That's increasing their math anxiety because for many of them, it's not an ability that they will ever have. They will develop some strategies for how to learn multiplication more efficiently and how to work it more efficiently, but those time tests are not helping them learn. That's a whole nother soapbox. So some other things that I see with these students, and this is a weird one. Y'all, sometimes the first student that I worked with, I keep going back to her, but I would call her parents and say, oh my gosh, today we made so much progress. I think she's getting it. And y'all, the very next time we worked together, it was psh. And it's not because she wasn't trying. And it's not because she was thinking about the cute boy sitting next to her in science class. It's truly that some days it clicks and some days it doesn't click. It is the most bizarre phenomenon. And until you see it, you don't understand really what I'm talking about. But when you see it, you're like, oh my gosh, exactly that. So if you see some of that, that might be an indicator. Students with traits of dyscalculia often will not recognize the symbols. And so when we're showing the symbol plus, they may or may not be able to understand that that means addition. the symbol for minus, they may or may not understand that that indicates subtraction. It's not that they necessarily don't understand addition and subtraction, but it's that those abstract symbols are meaningless to them. Lastly, for this short segment, is sometimes students with dyscalculia will have a very heavy reliance on algorithms, and they will have a very limited understanding of the algorithms. So when you ask them to add 73 plus 29, they will write it out, they will stack it, and then they will start trying to add it. They won't always remember what that means to carry. And so they sometimes will do that incorrectly, and they'll write the numbers in the opposite places. They will often not think, oh, wait, 73 plus 30 is 103. So 73 plus 29 is 102. That will not be in their purview oftentimes. All they will know to do is to go to that algorithm about how to stack the addition. So hopefully this has given you just an inkling of some thoughts that you may see in students with dyscalculia. I will be back in a few days or a week with some more information. And in the meantime, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions that I could address, or if you would like to be a guest. And when this eventually evolves into a podcast, I would love to host you that way too. I'll see you next time. Thank you.